It's Thursday, October 12. In the headlines, public passenger vehicle operators register to be established. Prime Minister Andrew Holness announces community cleanup campaign. In business news, gas prices and diesel prices down $4.50. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago aiming to provide lucrative job opportunities regionally. Internationally, UK Foreign Secretary scrambles for safety as raiders' sirens sound in Israel-Gaza war. And in sports, cricket, West Indies names squad for Windies Women's A-Team tour to Pakistan. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Plans are being made to roll out a street-to-street community cleanup campaign as part of the mitigation efforts against the spread of dengue fever. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the disclosure while speaking in Parliament on Tuesday. The campaign is part of additional efforts announced that will cost the government some $200 million.
The government is also announcing an allocation of $2 million per constituency for a community cleanup campaign, and this will focus, Madam Speaker, on the removal of bulky waste, but we also recognize that some of the breeding grounds could be open lots. And so there might be need for some bushing to take place.
He emphasized that this cleanup campaign goes beyond addressing dengue fever.
Particularly as it has started to rain heavily now and there will be this overgrowth, that it may be necessary. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Health will give a presentation and give further details as to what is happening on the dengue response, but I just want to say, Madam Speaker, that the allocation of these resources targeted at communities and households, it is specifically because whilst the Ministry of Health can pull certain levers, the fogging, the targeting of gullies and drains, but we really have to enlist the household in the fight against dengue.
Mental health is everyone's business. Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, says all society approach is needed as ignorance poses a big hindrance to wellness. He was speaking at the opening ceremony of the National Mental Health Conference held this week at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston.
No single group or subgroup can address what is the greatest health challenge, I believe, in society today. And I'm not exaggerating. By all statistics, our mental state, our state of mind, yours and mine, and others we know, has been challenged for many reasons.
The two-day event is being held under the theme Mental Health and Human Rights, using the past to direct the future. The ministry recently established the Problem Management Plus program for persons experiencing stress, anxiety, and other mental health challenges to access support within their communities.
We've done a lot. You've heard some of it. We've done the Problem Plus management at the community level to solve basic problems because we don't have enough psychiatrists. And normally it starts basic and then it's elevated, so we try to cut it off there. We have trained teachers and administrators in schools. We have the Do Your Share program. You know about the wellness bench. Everybody's sitting on it these days if you watch YouTube. Even me, they put on it, right? With the dengue. The last one I saw me on it, scratching my head. What am I about the dengue outbreak? It's a good meme because it represents the symbolism of some resolution, a safe space. So we don't have a problem with that.
The ministry's mental health and suicide prevention helpline, 888 New Life, that's 888-639-5433, can also be accessed for support. Minister of Science, Energy, Telecommunication and Transport, Daryl Vaz, says he is committed to developing a transportation system Jamaicans can be proud of. To that end, his team is working with public passenger vehicle operators through the Transport Authority to establish a PPV driver-conductor platform.
It is my intention, Madam Speaker, to ensure that the operators in the service are adequately trained in customer service, safety, and other areas of core competencies. In this way, I am being deliberate about improving the levels of service provided to the Jamaica's commuting public.
He says 3,582 participants have registered, and to date, 450 have completed the program. According to Minister Vaz, the Transport Authority will also be activating the suspension and revocation policy to treat with rogue operators with effect April 1, 2024.
There is no database where persons who own the buses and operate the buses can see the history of these drivers. How many tickets, how many accidents, what their current status is. Is there warrants out for them? Tick traffic or otherwise. Now, obviously, Madam Speaker, that can't work. So this will create a pool in tandem with the police where when you are employing a driver, you can do your background checks. Right now, that does not exist.
He says he met with the police and record operators from across the country and agreed on a proper rate structure for services provided by record operators. Time now for the business report with Danita Rodney.
Motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the price of gasoline effective Thursday, October 12, according to the latest ex-refinery cost from Petrojam. With both grades of gasoline down by $4.50, 87 octane will sell for $183.02 per liter, while 90 octane will sell for $189.09. Continuing with the $4.50 decrease, automotive diesel fuel will sell for $185.27 per liter, and ultra-low sulfur diesel will sell for $193.66 per liter. Kerosene decreased by $3.06, will sell for $190.52 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum will sell for $67.40 per liter, down by 25 cents, and butane liquid petroleum will sell for $72.34 per liter after an increase of $1.44. Remember that marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markup to these prices. Grace Kennedy has unveiled its inaugural Environmental, Social and Governance (ESG) report, marking a significant step forward in its sustainability journey. The report, which was released last Wednesday, is titled We Care and outlines the company's long-standing commitment to responsible business practices and offers a first glimpse into the ESG goals and targets that will steer GK towards achieving its 2030 vision. Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, October 11, the US dollar sold for an average of $156.21. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $115.25. The pound sterling traded for $188.82, and the euro sold for $165.95. In GSE trading, the GSE index declined by over 2,768 points. The junior market index advanced by over 18 points. The combined market index declined by over 2,421 points, and the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by over 3,204 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 106 stocks, of which 36 advanced, 49 declined, and 21 traded firm. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Blue Power Group Limited. Stocks declined for Barita Investments Limited, Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, and Cargo Handlers Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Carreras Limited, and Siboney Group Limited. The overall volume leaders were JMMB grew 7.25% preference shares with 50 million units, Mailpac Group Limited with over 2 million units, and Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with over 1 million units. In regional stocks in Trinidad and Tobago, Calypso Macro Index Fund posted a volume of 50 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Goddard Enterprises Limited was the volume leader with 6,000 shares. They were followed by First Caribbean International Bank and the Emira Deposit Receipt, which traded 20 and 5 shares respectively. In regional business, Trinidad and Tobago's central bank confirms that there had been greater purchases of foreign currency by the public in the previous financial year. More in this report.
Foreign exchange sales by authorized dealers to the public have been on the rise as far back as 2022. This was confirmed by the central bank's 2022 annual report, which states forex sales to the public reached US $6.2 billion during financial year 2021-2022, almost $2 billion more than the US $4.6 billion sold in the previous financial year. The report also notes that in the 12-month period ended September 30, 2022, total purchases of foreign exchange by authorized dealers from the public amounted to US $5.356 billion, which also represented an increase of 52% when compared with the previous financial year. This report comes just under a month after Republic Bank reduced its US dollar credit card limit from $10,000 to $5,000, and subsequently Finance Minister Carl Mimbert called for a discussion with the financial sector and other stakeholders concerning the increased demand for foreign exchange. The finance minister had suggested then that the surge in demand was due to an increase in online.
In international business, Wall Street's main indexes closed higher after the release of minutes from the U.S. Federal Reserve's last meeting fueled investors' hope that rates would remain steady.
The Dow ticked up roughly 0.2%, the S&P 500 gained more than 0.4%, and the Nasdaq added 0.7%. The Fed notes pointed to uncertainties around the economy, oil prices, and financial markets as supporting, quote, the case for proceeding carefully when it comes to further rate hikes to tame inflation. But Matt Stuckey, Chief Equity Portfolio Manager at Northwestern Mutual Wealth Management, notes that the Fed's next decisions will take into account the Consumer Price Index reading for September, due out on Thursday.
Right now, we would say it's probably a 50-50 chance whether or not the Federal Reserve is going to hike interest rates further. However, what the Fed is going to be laser focused in on is core services ex housing inflation alongside the overall tightness in the labor markets. If overall core services ex housing inflation continues to decelerate back down to a level that they think is in alignment with their overall 2% inflation goal, we're likely to see them pause. However, if we don't get that, in addition to continued resilience in the labor markets where wage gains are north of 4%, you can very easily see a scenario where the Federal Reserve feels like they need to do more in the form of higher interest rates.
Data on Wednesday showed that U.S. producer prices increased more than expected in September amid higher energy costs, but the core number, which strips out food and energy prices, ticked down slightly. Among individual movers, Birkenstock made a flat-footed public debut on the New York Stock Exchange. Shares of the 250-year-old German sandal maker closed down more than 12.5% from their IPO price of $46. And shares of ExxonMobil fell more than 3.5% after the oil and gas producer agreed to buy rival Pioneer Natural Resources in an all-stock deal valued at $59.5 billion. Shares of Pioneer closed up more than 1%.
In market data for oil prices rose about 1% on Thursday, reversing earlier falls on expectations that U.S. interest rates had peaked, but a lower demand growth forecast for next year from the International Energy Agency and higher U.S. inventories limited further gains. Brent futures rose $1.01 to $86.83 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude gained 73 cents to $84.22 a barrel. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Benita Rodney.
In regional news, in Trinidad and Tobago, a larger job market will soon become available to CARICOM nationals. So says the director of the Caribbean Single Markets CSME unit, Leah Titus Prevail. TTT Live has the details.
According to the United Nations International Organization for Migration, there are large gaps in the labor market in the Caribbean. Director of the Caribbean Single Markets CSME unit, Leo Titus Prevail, says the CARICOM single market economy is a strategic tool to meet these gaps.
And to say that the heads took a decision in July of this year to move towards full free movement, which is what was always aspirational in Article 45 of the treaty, full free movement of our people. So we are currently working towards that process to meet that deadline that the heads have set, which is March 31st of next year.
The UN's IOM says the labor gaps are caused by the movement of educated CARICOM nationals outside of the region. The World Bank estimates the rate of international migration for these highly skilled workers is between 25 to 60%. Vice Chair of CARICHAM, a network of 21 Caribbean chambers of commerce, Kim Eichmann, says her organization has a plan.
Encourage our nationals to move across and between our countries as opposed to moving outside of CARICOM so that we can take advantage of the skill sets and the talent that we have. I will say locally, because when I say locally, I mean throughout the CARICOM.
Mr. Prevail and Ms. Eichmann made their comments as they participated in a panel titled Conversations on Migration in the Caribbean, Engaging the Private Sector, held via Zoom on Wednesday. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTT News.
26 nurses in Grenada will benefit from bilateral training in the field of midwifery and maternal health over the next 3 weeks. The training is being offered by the People's Republic of China. More from GBN News.
Starting October 11th to the 31st, 26 nurses on the island are participating in a bilateral training course on the nursing technology of maternal health for Grenada. The course, which is the first of its kind in Grenada, is facilitated by 5 experts consisting of doctors and nurses from the Hunan Children's Hospital. The People's Republic of China offered the training in collaboration with Hunan Children's Hospital and the government of Grenada. The aim of the training is to improve the capacity of nurses and midwives involved in maternal and newborn care, ultimately improving the overall state of maternal health in Grenada. Chief Nursing Officer Nesta Edwards at the opening ceremony of the training said the nurses would experience both hands-on and theoretical training.
During the next 3 weeks, the participants will be engaged in both theoretical and hands-on training in a number of areas, including identification of critical illnesses in pregnancy, pediatric cardiopulmonary resuscitation, neonatal cardiopulmonary resuscitation, critical illnesses in the neonatal period, caring for the preterm newborn, among others.
The Hunan Children's Hospital is a first-class 3-grade 1 general children's hospital integrating healthcare, teaching, scientific research and disease prevention. Furnished with 1,000 beds and staffed with over 2,000 employees, the hospital has 32 clinical departments, 40 wards and 8 medical labs. Shi Xiongwei, Vice President of Hunan Children's Hospital, through a translator, expressed the hope that the training will improve the relationship between both countries and positively affect the lives of Grenadians.
As a pioneer of the national maternal and child health projects, we have shared our Hunan pediatric and appropriate technologies into countries along the Belt and Road Initiative, such as Cambodia, Sierra Leone, Zanzibar, Fiji. We thus hope that this training will further deepen our mutual understanding, consolidate our friendship, and assist the local hospitals to improve the maternal and child health care. We also hope that we can work with Grenada medical and nursing experts to share our experiences, seek common development, and make a positive contribution to the health development in China and Grenada for the good health for all.
Minister for Health Jonathan Lacret thanked the People's Republic of China and the Hunan's Children's Hospital for their support.
Healthcare fraternity and nursing fraternity and clinical fraternity, I believe training like these, they sort of jolt us into the reality that it restores and solidifies the kind of behaviors and attitudes and knowledge and skills that we should be displaying as professionals at this level of the healthcare sector. So we are indeed grateful for the provision of this 3-week training. Thank you very much. Please do convey our deepest gratitude and appreciation to your government and to Ambassador.
For GBN News, I am Rena Pitt-Thomas reporting.
As the world keeps a close eye on what's happening in Israel, Foreign Affairs Minister in the Bahamas, Fred Mitchell, says his ministry is keeping tabs on Bahamians currently in the Middle Eastern country. Minister Mitchell told reporters on Wednesday that when the attack took place on Saturday, there were at least 3 Bahamians, all of whom he was in contact with.
One has already left and I think is in Morocco at the moment, and I saw he did an extensive interview with the press. And there's also a professional basketball player who's having some difficulties trying to get out. We do not have a diplomatic presence in Israel, but the state of Israel has a responsibility to protect non-citizens, and I'm sure they'll follow the international rules on that.
Now, Mitchell says he understands the professional athlete is doing all he can to leave Israel, and the Bahamian Foreign Mission has been working with his family. Hamas militants, which is designated a terrorist organization by the United States, breached a border fence in the Gaza Strip in several places on Saturday and launched the most serious cross-border attack Israel has faced in a generation. More than 1,000 people have been killed in Israel since Saturday. CARICOM released a statement calling for an immediate ceasefire and end of hostilities by all parties. Mitchell is echoing that call.
The complexities of the hostilities in that part of the world are not something that we enter upon. We've called for the cessation of hostilities as soon as possible. We've also called within the context of the CARICOM statement. There's a statement issued by CARICOM. You can go and see that. We support that statement. And the statement essentially is saying that this is a complex matter. We want cessation of the hostilities. There's a 2-state solution which was drawn up in 1967.
In international news, British Foreign Secretary James Cleverly was seen running into a building in Israel as a siren sounded in a video clip posted on X by the Israeli Foreign Ministry. The siren warned of incoming Hamas rocket fire and went off during his visit to Ofakim in southern Israel. Al Jazeera's Neve Barker reports.
Britain's Foreign Secretary James Cleverly was in Israel to continue showing Britain's unequivocal support for the Israeli government. This after Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said, if asked, he would be prepared to provide Israel with intelligence, with security and with diplomatic support. James Cleverly met with survivors of the Hamas attack and also with leading lawmakers, and at one point was forced to take cover with his Israeli counterpart Eli Cohen when air raid sirens went off. But Cleverly, along with the whole of the British government, is under a tremendous amount of pressure to underline exactly what its humanitarian conditions are. This after Israel blockaded the flow of food, of medicine and fuel to Gaza, something that, of course, will have a huge impact on people on the ground there. And as the head of Amnesty UK said, it is entirely right that Cleverly is offering his support to Israeli civilians who've suffered in these completely appalling attacks. But Mr. Cleverly should also be urging all parties to the conflict, including the Israeli authorities, to respect international humanitarian law. Earlier in the week, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak spoke at a synagogue in North London where he said there are not 2 sides to these events. There cannot be a question of balance. This, of course, as 17 British nationals, including children, are feared killed as a result of Hamas's actions. Hamas was prescribed as a terrorist organisation here in the UK a few years ago And as a result, Britain's Home Secretary Suella Braverman has warned that any protesters waving Palestinian flags or singing pro-Palestinian songs could well face arrest if it's deemed that they are doing that in support of Hamas, a move that has riled an awful lot of people who feel that that will only deepen the division between opposing views about why this conflict is happening at all. Neve Barker, Al Jazeera, London.
In sports, the Cricket West Indies women's selection panel has announced a 15-member squad for the upcoming West Indies women's A-team tour to Pakistan from October 17 to November 8. The West Indies women's A-team will be led by head coach Shane Dietz and captain Rashada Williams, the top-order batter and wicketkeeper. This is the first ever West Indies women's A-team away tour, which will feature 3 50-over matches against Pakistan A at the Lahore Country Club in Madrid, followed by a Tri-Nation T20 series with Pakistan A and Thailand. The preliminary matches will be played at the Lahore Country Club, with the final at the Gaddafi Stadium in Lahore. Here is a full match schedule. And that's it for the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thank you so much for watching.